how to use LinkedIn to generate new business in 2024. Hi, my name is Chris Casalino, and I help B2B sales teams bring in new business on LinkedIn. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. We are going to go into the actual tactical advice that you can implement without holding anything back. Our core principles is really to give away the secrets, sell the implementation, like Alex Hormozi says. And that's exactly what we're going to do today. We are going to show you exactly what we do for our own clients and the most cutting edge techniques that are working today on LinkedIn to bring in new business. So just to give you a little overview of what that's going to look like, we're first going to talk about your LinkedIn profile. We're going to talk specifically about the most important parts, and it's a lot easier than most people think. We'll spend maybe 2 to 3 minutes talking about that and then dive into targeting and LinkedIn Sales Navigator. There's some really important reasons to use LinkedIn Sales Navigator that primarily are going to get you higher responses and inevitably more revenue on LinkedIn. Then we'll go into messaging and how to craft a message that doesn't suck, doesn't make it feel dirty, and talks more about the problems that your prospects are having to establish curiosity. And then we can go into the solutions of what your service is. We'll wrap up with a couple other tactics that most people don't know about LinkedIn. But without further ado, let's jump into it. Now, if you take nothing else away from this, what you really should take away is that LinkedIn is the place to be when you're trying to target the top level people in your ICP, decision makers that control budgets and overall the best prospects. Now, the downside to LinkedIn is that you can only send 800 connection requests a month, which is something we'll talk about. So this really isn't a huge volume play because that ends up being about 200 a week. But it is really good if you want to get really specific. Now, what most people don't realize is that your profile matters a lot for who's going to accept your connection request. So let's talk about that right now and get the basics and the foundation of your LinkedIn profile rolling. So for the purposes of this, sending 200 connection requests a week is kind of the staple of building an audience that then leads to all the downstream effects, like being able to send messages, being able to share content, being able to own traffic. So you need to build your connection base to start with, though. So if you take away nothing else from this video, every week you need to be sending 200 connection requests to the most active people on LinkedIn. I'll show you exactly how to do that in a few. But to make sure the most people are accepting your connection requests as possible, you need your profile to meet a certain standard. So what not to do on your profile? You do not want your headline to say something like, I help people do X, Y, and Z. Let me just find an example. So I help build a championship culture. I help with all insurance and investments. You don't want to do that just because most people have bad experiences with profiles that look like that, and therefore they're going to be less likely to accept your connection request. So what do you want to do? You want to have a really great profile picture. Specifically, you want it to be a true headshot, ideally shoulders and above, just because when somebody is actually making a decision, this is what it's going to look like. You're going to see their profile picture, you're going to see their headline, and you're going to see their name. So those are the 3 components of a profile that matter the most, because that's what most people are going to have at their disposal when they're choosing to ignore or accept a connection request. Obviously, some people will click into your profile, and we'll talk about how to cater to those people. But really, the 3 things that matter the most are your profile picture, name, and headline. You can't change your name, so that is what it is. Your profile picture needs to be a true headshot and as zoomed in as possible without it being creepy. And then your headline is going to carry a lot of weight. You don't want it to say anything spammy. The principles that I follow are going to be your actual job title at the company that you work at, then share 1 or 2 things professionally about you or how you identify yourself, and then 1 thing that's personal about you. So me, for example, will say co-founder, CEO at Uptown Creation, LinkedIn First Outbound, and Guerrilla Marketer. Those are 2 things that I'm using to identify myself professionally. And then ENTP, that's my Myers-Briggs personality type, and just a personal thing about myself worth sharing. My business partner, Connor Paulson, same thing. You'll see co-founder, president at Uptown Creation. Then these things that identify him professionally, storyteller, outbound sales development, he lists the podcast there, and then something personal about him, passionate about human relationships. Great. Doesn't look super spammy. Those are the three core components of a great profile. And if you can nail those, you're going to get the most people to accept your connection request as possible. An honorable mention is going to be this featured section, because this is the first thing that somebody's going to see, and an important piece if you want to drive traffic elsewhere. But we'll talk more about that later. I have a whole video that you can check out if you're really interested in profile optimization. But for the purposes of this today, these are the three things that you really need to focus on. So let's jump into Sales Navigator and the actual meat and potatoes of today. So what are you going to do on LinkedIn on a daily basis? We're going to talk about some things that need to be set up on your account, like a target list, some places that we can store leads. And you just need to do that once, and then they'll be there forever. And then we'll talk about what the daily activities look like for either yourself or your sales team, depending on what position you're in. So the first thing that we're going to need to do is we need to create lead lists. And so lead lists are how we're actually going to store people that we are going to be sending connection requests to, sending messages, and create kind of like a cold outreach sales pipeline. So we'll be able to track, who we sent a connection request to, who actually accepted that connection request, who we've sent a message to, and then inevitably who has responded and the sentiment of those responses, all the way to now who's booked a meeting with us and who have we closed the deal with. So what this is going to start with is if you're in Sales Navigator, you can click leads, and then you'll want to hit create lead list. And so what I usually do is I'll do connection request sent. And then I'll copy that, and then I'll do 1 and hit create. Then I'll do connection request sent 2. And then I'll do connection request sent 3. So that takes care of that. Then the next one I'll create is message sent. Oops, double type that. And we just need 1 for those, or 1 for that. Then we'll create responded and follow up. So you'll create a total of 6 lists that'll be connection request 1, connection request 2, connection request 3. The reason for that is you can only save 1,000 people to each lead list. So this is just kind of making them in advance. So when we go and create the saved search, which is the next step, you won't have to do this work all over again. We create a message sent list that's going to create a way to track all the people who have connected with us, and then responded and follow up. So this will make a lot more sense once I go into this next piece. Now that you've made those lead lists, though, we can go and create a saved search with them. So we're going to click into lead filters. And so we're going to build a targeting list now. I'm going to use a sample list where we're going to target some VPs of sales in professional services in the United States, just to give you an idea of how to build these targeting lists and what my favorite filters are. So every list that I build is going to start the same way. It's going to be focused on 2nd and 3rd degree connections. Then I'm going to put in my geography. So we'll do United States. Then I'm also going to exclude all my saved leads, and that'll make sure that this list just stays new people. So when I come back day in, day out, I'm never going to see the same leads over and over again, because that's just going to muddy kind of the list. And then I'm also going to exclude anybody I've sent a message to, because I don't want those people in the list because they're not net new opportunities. So this is really kind of the skeleton framework that I would recommend. And now there's a few filters that are really important. The first one's going to be this posted on LinkedIn in the last 30 days. I can't stress how important this filter is. The reason why it's as important as it is this is what's going to make it so you can get really, really high response rates. The reason being is if you filter for people who are posting on LinkedIn, chances are they check the platform a lot more than other people. What that means is they're going to check their inbox a lot more, and they're going to be much more likely to respond in a timely manner. If you just target everybody on LinkedIn, there's certain people that only use it as like a job search website. So once they get a new role, they'll change their job title, and maybe they'll check it once a month, if that. You want the people that are actually active on LinkedIn, and then you can save the other people for cold email, cold call, or other ways of getting in touch with them. But the way to get the most bang for your buck on LinkedIn is to focus on the actual people who are active. You can see in this kind of skeleton list, there's 207 million results or people. If I was to filter for the people who have posted on LinkedIn, that goes down to about 3 million people, just to give you an idea of the pool of people we're working with. So what else are my favorite filters? I'm going to use current job title a lot. I'm going to use company headcount, and I'm going to use industry. You can pretty much do everything that you need to with those 3 filters, and I'll show you exactly how to do that. So I like keeping the posted on LinkedIn in the last 30 days filter off while I'm building the list, and then I turn it on at the very end. So let's go ahead and for current job title, we're going to use Boolean logic because this is one of those filters, one of 2 filters on LinkedIn. Company is the other one, where you can actually type in freeform Boolean logic. So VP and sales. And then I'm also going to do vice president and sales to try to get every combination of that I can. And maybe I don't want to go after the marketing people. So I like to sift through the list at this point and then exclude people that I don't like what I see. So maybe I only want VPs of sales, not VPs of sales and marketing. So at this point, I could do marketing and then exclude that title. I'll also try to exclude intern, coach, consultant, assistant, student. And that's a pretty good template that encompasses getting rid of most of the poor fits. So now I'm going to throw in an industry. We said we were going to do professional services. And then for fun, let's just do a head count. Now, some of LinkedIn's filters aren't the best. I have a whole nother video where I talk about kind of some of the shortcomings, but this is going to be the way that we get the most and highest accuracy of targeting on LinkedIn. But I'm going to say that I want to do 11 to 200 head count. So what is this going to show me? So 8,000 total results is what I see here. And if I turn on the posted on LinkedIn in the last 30 days, it goes down to about 1,000, which is a solid list for me to start with. Anything over 1,000 is good, especially since what you're really going to be doing then is sending 200 connection requests a week, 800 a month. So 800 people on a list will give you about a month's runway. And since we have this posted on LinkedIn in the last 30 days filter on, it'll actually populate people as they post on LinkedIn. But so what I'll do next is I want to save this list as is. Now I did the hard part of targeting and I never have to do this again until I run out of leads. I'll click saved searches up at the top then, and you'll see that this is a super long name, not something that I want. So I'm going to just hit the edit button, and I like to turn this into a connection request just to make it be really easy. I'm going to have to put some extra S's on it just because I have so many example filters here. What this allows me to do now is I can click off of this, and now I never need to make that targeting list again, assuming that it's the right people for me. And I can hit saved searches and then just click into that, and it'll already have the filters pre-populated. Then I can go to work. So what does that mean to go to work? Well, what you're going to be doing in an ideal world is sending 50 connection requests a day. Not everybody has that time, so you could send 200 every Monday, let's say. The connection request limit will reset on Sundays. So between Saturday and Sunday evening, you'll be able to start sending connection requests again. If you don't have a lot of time, you can do this all in one sit down. I haven't seen negative effects from that, but I would recommend doing 50 a day just so you have people trickle in instead of large influxes of new connections. So when you go to send connections now, what you're going to do is you're going to select everyone, assuming that they're good fits. You can go through and remove anybody that isn't a great fit if you want to, but then you're going to save them to those lists that we made. So connection request 1 is where you'll start. I have a lot of lists just because I've given a lot of examples. So let me find my connection request 1 if I can. For sake of example, I'll use this connection request sent one. So now what I'll do is I'll go down the list and hit the three little dots, connect, and send invitation. And now a lot of you are going to say, wait, Chris, you're not sending a message, are you? And that's exactly right. Blank connection requests get higher acceptance rates. And there's a long answer for that. All that you really need to know is that you should send blank invitations and you'll get more bang for your buck. The long answer is that bots and automation have used connection request messages for a long time. So most people, when they see a message from somebody, it's this generic copy that says, hey, I'd love to add you to my network. Saw we knew some mutual people. Let's connect. And every single time you accept something from those people, you get spammed with a million messages that are totally irrelevant. So for that reason, most people ignore connection requests with messages in them. So send blank connection requests to people that have posted on LinkedIn in the last 30 days and fit your ICP, and you will see some pretty crazy results from LinkedIn. So you're going to go down the list and connect with people. There's 25 people per page on LinkedIn. So you'll do this for 8 pages a week, 2 pages a day, ideally. And you're keeping track of them by adding them to that lead list. So now that you've sent your 50 connection requests for the day, you have your targeting list created. We're going to create one final filter search and save that so you can see everybody who's a new connection to you. So we're going to create a brand new search. If you started the Sales Navigator home, you'll click lead filters. And now instead of second and third degree connections, we're going to filter for first degree connections. And then we're going to go to lead lists and we're going to add those connection request sent lists. So you can do connection request sent 1, 2, and 3 that we created. And what this is going to do is this is going to make it so now everybody that we're adding to the list, as they go from second and third degree connections to first degree connections, they're going to automatically populate into this search. Then we're also going to exclude anybody we've sent a message to. So people will be filtered out of this list as we send messages. But this is exactly what we want. So again, we're going to switch this little, flip this little switch at the top and then go to saved searches so we can change the name on it. Hit the pencil. I like to call it B send messages. You can also call it B new connections. Whatever is easiest for you to understand is really going to be best. And so again, what this is going to do now is you never need to make those saved searches again. Well, I'll go over again kind of the day-to-day actions, but you have 2 lead lists now of people you're going to send connection requests to and then people who have connected back with you. For the people who have connected back with you, that's when you're going to go in and send them a message. So again, what my workflow would be for this is selecting everybody on the page, hitting save to list, and then saving them to that message sent saved search now. And then we can go through and actually send messages to these people. Now, what message do you send to somebody? Before I go into that, let's go through just a recap of what the daily activities will be. So you made your saved searches, you made your lead lists, your profile looks awesome, you're ready to start sending connection requests. What you're going to do is go to saved searches, your A connection request list, you're going to hit select all, save to list, you're going to save them to one of your connection request sent lists, and then you're going to go down that list and connect with these people. Once you send those 50 connection requests a day, you'll go back to your saved searches and then go to those B new connections, and you'll be able to see the new people who've connected with you, but you've not yet sent a message to. And this is where the fun part starts. So what message will you send on LinkedIn that'll actually get responses? So let me go to a post that I actually made a little bit ago that probably is going to do a better job explaining this than I will off the top of my head. And you'll also be able to have a visual and someplace to go. So you can get 30% plus response rate on LinkedIn using this message template. I'm not a huge fan of templates, but this type of strategy, I'll explain the rationale behind it, and then you'll be able to play with it a little bit. Most people feel more comfortable if they get a template given to them. So that's why you're going to get a template to start with, but this doesn't have to be the end all be all if you understand the core concepts. So what is this template going to look like? I know this is random name, but you seem like the best person to reach out to for this. I'm chatting with some titles who know they should be doing X thing to solve Y problem. So this is the first part that's really, really important. Let's break down those two lines. The first sentence, the only goal of it is if somebody is getting a message from you, they're likely getting a ton of other messages. How do you make yours stand out in their inbox? So if you go through your inbox, most are going to be saying, hey or hi, and then your first name. So, hey, Chris, hi, Chris. For this reason, every message I send is going to start with something completely different. So either I know this is random or you seemed like the best person to reach out to for this. Those two lines aren't the end all be all. You can use anything as long as it's not starting with hi name or hey name. The only goal of that is to get them to open your message in the first place. You can kind of think of it like a thumbnail of a YouTube video or something like that, or the subject line of an email. The second line is probably the most important. So it's going to be a very problem-oriented message and getting straight to the point of I'm reaching out for this reason and talking more about the problem you help solve than the solution you're looking to sell them or help them implement. I'm going to say that again because I think it's that important. You really want to focus this first sentence you're saying to somebody of as short and sweet. This is why I'm reaching out to you and the problem that you might have. If we do our targeting right, then this is where that relevancy really comes into play. If we focus on the wrong problem, we're probably going to get low response rates, but that's where we can iterate in the future. So then this third sentence, at a high level, we help, and then value proposition in half a sentence. So for our message, as an example, we go, I know this is random, but you seem like the best person to reach out to for this. I'm chatting with some CROs that know their team should be doing more on LinkedIn to bring in new revenue. At a high level, we're partnered with LinkedIn to help B2B sales teams book more meetings and close more deals on the platform. So the problem we're addressing is using LinkedIn to bring in new revenue. The way we're solving that is helping B2B sales teams book more meetings and close more deals on the platform. Then we wrap it all up with a call to action that is going to be permission based. I think that you could pitch call as well, and I've seen that work as well. Permission based is just working really well for us right now. So would you be open to hearing a few ideas to get your team really maximizing LinkedIn as a sales tool? This is the exact message that we're sending right now, and we're booking tons of meetings with this framework. I was skeptical at first about this permission-based framework. I used to be all about sending meeting links. This is something that shifted for me between 2023 and 2024, and this is working really, really well right now. So it might feel uncomfortable to send messages at first, but take this framework, implement it for 100 sends, and you'll be extremely surprised by the number of responses that you get, especially if you're targeting the most active people on LinkedIn Sales Navigator. So this is the type of message that you'll be sending to everybody that's in that Be New Connections list. And then you'll save them to the message sent list and be able to keep track of everybody throughout a sales pipeline. So you'll go from not being connected with somebody to becoming a first degree connection, to sending a message, and then ultimately to getting a response, whether it's positive, neutral, or negative, and then ideally booking a meeting from there. So what do you need to do as somebody that wants to implement these tactics? You need to optimize your profile. Then you need to create these lead lists that are titled connection request 1 through 3, message sent, responded, follow-up, to be able to keep track of all these leads. Then you need to go into lead filters and create those 2 saved searches that are going to be A, connection requests, and then B, either new connections or send messages. And that's how you're going to keep track of all the work that you need to do and make sure that you don't need to keep recreating the wheel, recreating these lead lists. You'll do it once, and then every single day you can come in for 15 minutes, do your work on LinkedIn, and see results. Then lastly, you'll craft a message kind of using this template. And what I'll do is I'll drop it in the description below so you're able to get really easy access to this post so you can implement that template and see the results from this. So hopefully this was a helpful video. Went a little bit longer than my usual videos, but I wanted to make sure that I held nothing back and gave away everything that I could. If you're interested in learning more about how we do this for companies and work with them, feel free to reach out. Otherwise, check out the other videos and hopefully you enjoy them.